Hello there, I'm Anthony. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to be painting I say this every time I paint this painting on here, but it's the painting I've been working on for a while now. This is a couple on a glacier, and I got a little bit of a different angle over here for my camera so you can see what I'm doing closer up today instead of the entire thing, because I'm going to be working on the couple here. So I already worked on what was going to be just the base for the skin and hair color here, and then the suit. Ended up getting into a lot of the details with the groom just because I didn't really check and make sure everything was actually in the right place and proportions were right before I went on with it, because what one face looks like affects the size and everything of the other one, and making sure everything looks right. So anyway, I'm going to be painting over probably all of that, but I'm going to continue today with the dress here, and there's a lot of detail in the dress. I think actually, maybe I'll just see if I can zoom in here so you can see what I'm actually going to be painting. Got a much different setup here. There's cameras all up in my face, and this is another camera right over here for a time lapse that I've been doing. So I'm actually going to go in there and make this a little more zoomed in. Okay, you know what, I'll just do it this way. All right, so I'm going to go like this and bring this in and go back. So you can see a little bit closer what I'm actually working on here. Okay, So the way I'm going to be doing this dress at this point, I'm going to be going in there, and there's a lot of little lace and things. Maybe you can't see that even with it zoomed in a little bit more, but there's a lot of detail I'm going to be doing in there. And in order for that to show up, you need a dark area behind the white. Even if it's not extremely dark, it has to be dark enough that you can see the detail I'm going to be doing for all the white. So I'm going to be going in and just doing not all the detail, but the kind of bigger parts as far as just the main shape, where there's like an overall shadow somewhere, or little places where there's kind of sort of like a stripe of dark area, and then in lighter areas next to that, things like that. And on the bottom here, there's going to be a little bit of this sort of bluish color showing through. There's that ice blue kind of underneath that's showing through, but the majority of it is going to be just kind of gray. So I'm going to get started now. And I have my foil here from colors I had used before, and I don't think I actually am going to need any of that today. So I maybe want to move this one here to get it out of the way. Of course, the foil's stuck. Well, I guess I'll just leave that actually. I don't really need a lot of space for this. It's just going to be black and white. And scrape this one little piece off over here. It's just paint that I had used before that I saved because it was still, there's still enough to possibly use in the future. So I may still use it for now. It's not really that big of an issue to leave it. Not really in the way too much. Just really trying not to knock anything over here. There's stuff all over the place. Out of where it normally is. Okay. So I'm going to use my natural black oxide and lead titanium white. I was listening in on the natural pigments, what they call a cohorts meeting. They do once a month. And they talk about things that are going on just in the world of their company or paint. They were saying that in Minnesota, there was a new law passed that doesn't allow lead in any form, in any kind of paint. Well, I guess not in any form, but any kind of paint anyway. So far it's just Minnesota that is enforcing this law, but sometimes there's, a law gets made somewhere and it spreads to other places. So hopefully that doesn't become something that other places adopt, because lead is very important for oil paint. Really, there's no reason to have it in house paint and things like that, but it's a very strong pigment for oil painters. Okay, now this, oh, I need to add some oil to that. This black here is very strong, so I don't really need very much of it at all. I think I'm going to add a little bit of epoxide to the white just to sort of thin it out. Oxide is a linseed oil based medium, but it has it's like a kind of artificial linseed oil that dries a little bit faster than normal oil and doesn't yellow as much as actual regular linseed oil. So just kind of looking over some of my notes yesterday or a couple days ago. I was thinking maybe I should use that a little more than I have been. I don't have a lot of mediums. I mean, I guess I have a few, but I mainly only use just a few of them. So easy to kind of just get in the habit of using one instead of the other. The epoxide has a little bit of a sort of fishy smell. There's no fish in it, but it feels pretty much like linseed oil. It feels like an oil. I think that Rublev is the only company that makes it. Or, yeah. For oil painting anyway. I know that it has existed for a long time. I guess for other industries. It gets pretty technical as far as, you know, why it dries faster, but basically it's similar to a bodied oil. Bodied oil is when you take linseed oil and heat it up, and it creates polymers, and it does this because of the heat instead of the combination of oxygen molecules. So when it oxidizes, that's what leads to yellowing. So by having it basically part of the way dry already, there's less oxygen kind of getting attached, that turns it yellow. So epoxide is kind of like that, but it has what they call more reactive sites. So in the end, it just means it doesn't yellow quite as much. That's the important part. That's all you probably really need to know or care about. So I'm gonna just get this gray that I have right here and mix a tiny bit into the white. I really have a lot more than I need right there. Painting a white dress like this is like painting a cloud where tiniest bit of gray really shows up. So you really don't need very much. There's a few places that are a little bit darker, but most of it is really not that much of a, you know, contrast in the darker areas compared to the lighter parts. Okay, so like what I have right here, seems like it's not dark enough, but I'm thinking that's probably right around what I need. Oh, this long stick I use just as like a maul stick, basically, where I just kind of put it over here and rest my arm on it, or my hand, so that I don't smudge the paint. But it's actually just the only use I have at this point for stretcher bars is for that. I have a bunch of them left over from when I used to use them, and I don't really use them anymore because I don't use stretched canvas anymore. So I'm gonna get, as far as what kind of brush I want for this, I need something that'll cover it fairly quickly. Don't really need to get too detailed right now. So I don't really want a small brush here. I'm gonna get something that's a little bit on the firmer side. Not necessarily firm, but not too soft. So thinking I'll go with this one here. This is a filbert that I was using to do some of that foreground texture on the ground. Here's the brush here. So this one is definitely a little weathered. It's not the same shape it was when I got it, but it's okay for what I'm doing now. Just kind of getting some of the, there's a little bit of light blue still left on it. I guess I can probably actually take this off of here. I'm not really using it right now. Filbert's a nut? So filbert and hazelnut are the same thing? Never heard of that before. Okay, now let me just see how this shows up here. Okay, definitely it's showing up plenty. That might be a little bit more than I want for that spot, but some of the other places will be about that dark. I'm gonna get some more white, and thinking I actually want to use a little more oil for the consistency. So, a little bit of paint on my phone. Swiping off my mouse. Hopefully it's not clicking on anything it's not supposed to. Okay. The term filbert and hazelnut are generally used interchangeably to refer to the same nut, the fruit of the hazelnut tree, or the fruit of the hazel tree. Well, I don't know why it's the name of a brush. Well, maybe the shape of the nut is kind of like that because the brush is sort of rounded, or is the actual shape of the bristles. I can probably move this down here. Okay. So here you can see my extremely expensive epoxide oil holding device here, which probably used to have some pickles or something in underneath it at some point. This foil is a little bit in the way right here, but not too big of a deal. Okay, so I think that's enough white. Taking some of the new white and mixing it into the gray I was just using. Get it to be lighter. So I had a gray that was too dark. I know if I add any white to it, it's just going to make it lighter. So it's not going to be any darker than I started with, obviously. I only need it to be just a little bit lighter. And it's an easy way to just do that without starting over. Now I'm going off of the white of the surface here, which is the gesso, and white of the original ground. So maybe I want to get a little bit of the actual just white that I'm using right now on there just to compare it, because it's not necessarily going to be the same. Okay, pretty close. You might be surprised how many whites there are if you've never had to paint a wall. About 30 colors that all just look like white. One's called eggshell and one's called beige, off-white, something or other, I don't know. So it's still a little bit actually on the light side now. I'm gonna just get a tiny bit more gray in there. I think that color could be a huge hit if they made one called gray or eggshell off-white, something or other, I don't know. Definitely don't want to go over the arm here. I already put that in there, so I'm going to just kind of go sort of near it and then go back later and fix it up. Maybe with a smaller brush or one with a sharper point. More of like a rectangular kind of square shaped brush. The lesser known book, 30 Shades of White. That would be a good prequel, actually, I think. I think there was like 2 or 3 of those books, right? I don't even know what the other ones were called, or yeah, those are like 50 Shades Deeper or something. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, adolescent girls were really into Twilight back in the early 2000s, and I don't know if it's the same demographic that grew up and then they got into those books, but I don't know, there's a sort of similar thing that happened with the popularity of those 2 different sort of series. I've never read any myself. I'm just noticing the whole top area mostly is not, like the only part that's white is actually the detail. So I'm gonna be going over that. I need to mix up some more of this. I have a little bit better of an idea of exactly how dark this needs to be, which is still not very dark. So now, real Chicken Meister, is there a bunch of people that are trying to like pretend that they're also Chicken Meisters? So you had to come up with like a verified account or something? You could always do like real Chicken Shady, in case somebody was able to get this account before you, I guess. I got this black thinned out over here, and I had it thinned out again, and now from there I'm actually mixing it into the paint because it's just a little too strong to really just grab some and put it in here. It's like too kind of risky to do that. A little hard to control. So I'm kind of just going back and forth with getting the value right here for this color by just, you know, grabbing some of the black and then grabbing some of the white, kind of feeding it in there. as needed. Like that's a little bit like what's going on with the new fusion reactor that they created that AI is controlling. Probably a similar process. All this time, instead of using AI for it, like they could have just got me down there, mix a bunch of paint. Would have been pretty similar. Okay, so Chicken Meister, real Chicken Meister, not just any Chicken Meister. Been using this moniker for 15 years. Yeah. Okay, well, if I see anybody else saying that they're anything even close to what you've got for your name, know that they're just ripping you off. I'm gonna just go over right here, maybe slightly darker. Kind of jumping around to whatever looks like it needs to be added in there next. It's gonna be a really fine line of going too dark, but this is one of those things that really messes with your mind because you have to make it look darker than it should in order to be able to have a dark enough contrast that you can see the white that's going to come later. So if you're doing it right, it will look wrong. If you make it too light, it's going to be too hard to see what you add later. This is really a wedding dress kind of a thing. So much detail on there, and oftentimes there's lace and things, so it's not really something that applies in too many other areas, I don't think. So I feel like that's about where it should be. So I'll actually look at things and just imagine what I'm seeing, kind of like superimpose what's coming later on top of there and see if it looks about right. So when you do that, I feel like this is about right over here as far as how dark it should be. There's this highlight coming down here where it looks like maybe there was a camera flash that was used when this picture was taken. So it has that look kind of more towards the legs than up here, but you kind of see it a little bit on the waist also. The light is just coming from it on. Maybe just a little subtle shadow coming off of the arm right here, going over that way. Now down this way, it's getting a little bit darker. I'm actually going to split up what I have here. Make that darker shade. I could probably just use this whole thing for that. Well, I guess on the left there's a little bit of an area where it's still this lighter. You know, I'll just mix up some more. So here's what I'm going to do. Before I use all of this up, I want to keep this as my target color, so I'm going to just put some of it right over here. Just so I can see, like, that's what I need if I'm going to mix more, which I'm pretty sure I will. This really doesn't look all that much darker here, but added some black in there. Get a little bit more. This doesn't really seem like it's dark enough, but I'm gonna just try it out, see what it looks like. Yeah, that's pretty close. Really a lot of lace down here, a lot of different things going on. It's definitely kind of painting with kind of, I don't know, a chess way of painting where I'm just kind of thinking about what's coming after this. And I mean, I guess it's only the base and then the details, so it's 2 steps. What do they say with chess? You're supposed to plan like, you know, 5 steps ahead or something, right? So maybe it's like, you know, really simple chess. Maybe it's more like checkers. Never mind. So there's a kind of a layer down here. There's like a skirt below the lace that stops right over here. I don't need to paint any of the sort of dark gray in right over there. A little bit tricky to see exactly what's going on in there. I mean, I can see a lot of stuff happening, but I don't know. Looks like maybe there's a fold in this skirt. This gray might be a little bit too dark for this area up here. So I'm gonna have to lighten that part. Is anybody into astrology? We just completed the final entry into Aquarius. It was, I guess, 2 days ago. I don't really know too much about it, but Pluto just entered the constellation of Aquarius and it's going to stay there until 2044, which is extremely unusual. Normally it kind of goes in and then it goes right back out. There's this one little edge right here, which is very dark compared to the rest of the dress. I'm going to leave that for now, but I'll have to come back later and fill it in. Pluto can provide tremendous opportunities for renewal, new beginnings, and spiritual and financial growth. Live like you mean, it says. Yeah, I was seeing it helps us to kind of heal. I think it was saying something like heal issues that we're trying to fix. Learn how to kind of get past. Got a little chunk of something in here now. A little dry bit. Nope, missed it. A lot of the time, if there's a little dry piece of paint, at least for how I paint, it doesn't look so good if it stays in there. It doesn't really look like a brush stroke. It just looks like you have something that doesn't really match the area around it. So I try to get it out of there. All right, so now there's this other place here where another fold coming down. Sort of like this. It's looking a little bit too dark here, so I'm gonna get some more white out and go back over that, but that's fine. I can kind of angle this a little bit more so you can. What I'm doing there. Yeah, time for more paint. Okay, so I'm gonna just put all this together here. If I wasn't streaming right now, I would just move these little foil bits here, but I don't want to waste any time doing that right now. I'm thinking maybe it's time for a new palette. This one's getting a little scratched up, so taking a look at some the other day, and it's really not thrilled at what I was finding, because pretty much every glass palette I saw tinted green, just like slightly tinted, but rather there was no tint at all because I'm using it to put colors on. Okay. Getting down to the end with this tube here. Yep. Okay, I think I will get the rest of that out of there another time. I'll just switch to a different tube now. You can really see how the oil has dried on here, turned yellow. But that's something that'll happen much worse if it's just oil that's kind of squirts out. It's not mixed in with the paint, it's kind of separated. So it doesn't normally do that in a kind of mixture where it's actually the way it's supposed to be in the paint. Okay, so I get a little bit of the epoxide for the old paint. The new paint that came out was a good consistency, so I don't need it for that one. Milkberry. Hey, bruh. How you doing tonight? Just talking about this epoxide oil. I don't know if I've really talked about it before while I was streaming, but it's like a synthetic linseed oil, which is a little bit, speeds up the time a little bit. Time it takes to dry. It's nice that I can actually open up the cap when I'm trying to get it out of there. Sometimes you get things that have the child-proof caps, and they're really adult-proof also. Okay, what is that? Schmuckleberry, where do you get these emotes from? Is that a ghost worm? Okay, this is a good consistency, and put it together with the rest. That's the way it goes, I guess. So I'm gonna take, I don't want to go over this light part here, even though it's just white. I don't want to go over it, but I gotta really look at that area there to see how bright really should it be. And I gotta keep going on this bottom area over here also. The stuff down there is also pretty light, kind of more like stripes almost, just going from light to dark. Oh yeah, okay. So I'm going to mix up some more of basically what I have over here. You know what, actually, before I do any more, I want to go over this one section that I did, which is too dark. At least it seems like it at this point. So we have the darker part in the back here, and then this part should be lighter than that. So I'm going to just take some of the white. This is just without any black mixed in there. I'm going to go over right here just to kind of work this in. Hey, there's another good one. And there's this little, kind of a narrow edge right there where the light's hitting it on the outside. It changes direction where it hits the ground over here. Yeah, a lot of white. I'm just painting this white because that's really, well, I mean, I'm painting a gray right now, but it's going to be gray and white. That's how it looks in the photo, but really a lot of the time, things that look white are not white. Yeah. I think that the reference I'm using, I don't think the sky was actually, blue with lots of fluffy clouds. I think that was maybe added by the photographer, especially up in Alaska. I don't think they really have that happen too much there, so some things might have looked a little different in this reference photo I'm using if it actually was a blue sky like that. Definitely a lot of blue on the ground, but it's not from the sky. So this right over here is actually a very light gray, so I'm going to just go in there basically with the white, but just a tiny bit of the gray. Getting to that really extremely subtle differences sort of a stage. And the dress is much tighter up here, and then as it comes down, sort of there's a lot more material coming out. So right about here, it should be coming downwards like that. I'm not sure what happened over here. There's kind of, I need to go over this actually some more here. Sometimes when I'm like painting the background, I'll do more where it comes in, so I need to overlap it. Sometimes I don't overlap it really as much as I need to. I think maybe that might be what happened here. I'm gonna just go back over this right now. I mean, I didn't do this part yet, but I'm gonna go over some of the other parts I did do already. Yeah, the shoes are not actually going to be blue when it's finished. I just didn't do, like I originally did a base just of his whole suit in that blue color, because I did kind of a monochrome underpainting for the whole thing basically, even though a lot of that not too far off from how it ended up. So his shoes are going to be black by the time it's done. But yeah, it kind of looks like he's got some blue suede shoes on right now. He actually has these, I forget if you call them crampons or what, but for like walking around on ice, there's these like things that go on your shoe, and then there's like spikes on the bottom. So that's not going to go in the painting, but the original photo, that's actually on there. So like you see the guys that go up on the telephone wires wear them, or telephone poles. I guess if they were on the telephone wires, they'd be birds. This is darker right over here. And I need to make sure that this is somewhat straight right over here. It has that sort of tension of going from kind of up at her waist down to this place on the ground. I'm going to go over this spot right over here too. Like I was saying before, I have to make sure everything looks too dark. If it doesn't look too dark, then it's going to be a problem later when I add the detail for the lace. So it's this constant looking at it and having everything be kind of incorrect. Like grading on a curve or something. I'm thinking this might be a little dark now, but might not be too big of a problem if it is. Might actually look better potentially, but I think I can go back over it at least a little. When you're doing an underpainting or first layer like this, generally it's better to keep it not too extremely thick. I don't really paint all that thick to begin with, but sometimes that might not look as good if it's a lot of texture showing through from brush strokes and things. There's this little wrinkle right here, which looks kind of nice. Normally wrinkles are not things we really want, but just sort of showing the shape of the fabric here. Sometimes if there's not a lot of contrast, it's better to just increase it a little bit for certain things so that you can see the shape. I'm thinking I'm actually gonna, now that I have a bunch of this on here, bring this down a little bit more in the value. If there's not too much contrast, then things tend to look kind of flat. So you don't want that unless you're painting a piece of paper. Of course, I'm going to probably want to go around the background over here some more just to kind of increase this contrast over here also. She's really just fading into the ice right now. Okay, so I'm gonna start lightening. I'm gonna just kind of keep going right over here at this point since I'm over here already. Start lightening this into the lighter, sort of lightest part in the middle. Looking a little bit dark right there right now. We need to get some more white in there. Basically, I want to use up what's on the brush now. Do this other part without kind of wasting the paint, so just wipe it off over here. And come back up this way. So since I'm painting with titanium white here, well, it's titanium lead. Titanium takes kind of a long time to dry. So the epoxide that I added in there will help it to kind of go a little faster. Hey, Brian. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go back to Thursdays, because, you know, I tried Sunday and it sucked. So, I don't know, at least I'm probably not gonna do Sunday anymore. So, if I change days, it won't be that, probably. Um, so, I'm painting the dress today, as you can see. This is the underneath layer, which I'm going to be painting over with all the detail of the lace once this is dry. So very tight value range for the most part. I'm trying not to go overboard anywhere. This right here is pretty much just about solid white. And if anything I'm doing now is too dark, I can always paint over it later, but the whole point of what I'm doing is just to get sort of the non-detailed parts where they need to be. But I can do all the other parts later. All the small things. I'm really liking this little fold right here. I think I'm maybe gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna say exaggerate that a little bit, but maybe this is really just how it should be before there's any of the other lace part going on top. I think it looks nice the way it is though. I guess this is a mermaid dress. Very nice one. Of course, I think there's the kind of hybrids of mermaid A-line or mermaid ballroom or whatever. Might be one of them. Okay, I'm gonna bring this dark edge up here. Should be more like that. So if somebody is standing like this in general, you know, next to another person, there's going to be less light hitting right on the edge that's getting close to the other person. So at least with this kind of a light source. So you definitely see right next to where the suit is here, it's pretty dark right on the edge, but that's what's happening there. Okay, so Darken this part right over here also. You can definitely see there's more going on in there. Darker value. Oh, I wear the glove just on the one hand because I really like Michael Jackson. But aside from that, also it's so that I don't get paint on that hand. Because when I'm eating things with my hands, I just use that one for chips and stuff. So if I'm going to poison myself, well, the point is so I don't poison myself if I get, lead paint or something on this hand. It's really a good idea to use gloves on both hands, but I think I'd lose my mind if I try to do that, so one is probably good enough. I don't even like using the one glove. I didn't do that until I started using lead a few years ago. But, I don't really want to mess around with that. Good dino dance. Yeah, I mean, it's probably not really anything you need to be concerned about, especially if you're, like I'm a very clean painter. I don't really get paint on my hands very much, but like if I'm opening a cap like I did before, that's like the most likely time it'll happen. It's just you're opening up a paint tube. So it can happen sometimes. There's this nice little crease right over here also. So it's not, like, I feel like that doesn't look bad. The creases aren't too extreme and there's not too many of them. It just sort of helps to show the way that the material is moving. If it was really a mess, then, probably wouldn't want that in there, but I think this looks good. Oh. Well, if I put rhinestones on here, it might be hard to like hold stuff because they'd be kind of slippery. Maybe I could put them on the back. It says like sort of breathable material on the material. Yeah, material on the back, which is good in the warm weather. I don't really need it as much now, but my hand gets pretty hot in the summer. And maybe get one of those kits that like the teenage girls use for like their jean jackets and stuff. What do they call them, like bedazzle me's or something? Yeah, One Glove. I could change my name to One Glove. Oh yeah. Now I think I actually need to bring this edge here down some more. Looks like the angle's a bit too vertical. I'm gonna go on down with that. Ryan, despite all of your black clothes you wear all the time, I know you had an outfit just full of pink heart rhinestones and crap that was stuck on there. That's what you would wear on the days when no one you knew was around. Smuckleberry, are you telling me you want me to bedazzle my back hair? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I don't really have much back hair. I don't think that would really go very far. If I did, maybe we could make an emote out of it or something, and then you could use it. Is that your real end goal? Really not sure what's going on over here in the reference, but well, actually it's maybe further to the right. Anyway, I'm going to put in this lighter part over here. I'll leave that up to you to get one of those kits yourself and have a ball with that. I mean, it was your idea anyway. So this is one of those cases where I don't know what that is that I'm seeing, but I just gonna just paint it the way it looks, and that's just what it's gonna be. I mean, I guess maybe I'm seeing through to the other side where there's light coming through on the bottom. So it's gonna go like this here. Hey, Mitch. Yeah, when you're painting things and you don't know what they are, you could just paint them exactly as they are, and you don't know what it is on the painting either, or you could just kind of figure it out. And I think it's good to know what it is if you can figure it out, because sometimes you can avoid painting things wrong if you know what it's supposed to look like. Sometimes there's other things around there that might get kind of messed up if you don't know, like one thing is supposed to connect with another thing in a certain way. But if you don't know what it is and you just can't figure it out, you gotta just kind of move on. So I feel like there's definitely more contrast going on here, but like than the reference. But like I was saying, you know, it's gonna have all this white added for the detail later, so if I ignore everything, it's gonna be added next time I work on this. Maybe it's fine where it is. I guess so. Seems like it's actually okay. So it's by increasing, well, painting it in a way that looks like I'm increasing the shadows, it's almost giving it more of like a sort of satin shade, sort of sheen look about it. You know, this looks weird. I'm gonna just color, I'm gonna just go over this right here. There we go. That's all. Okay, so yeah. You see the same kind of things happening with lots of different kinds of material, but depending on what it is and how thick it is and how reflective, it's kind of like you can kind of take the same thing and increase the contrast. You get like satin, or you can decrease it, and sort of in a way you can get sort of like a leather jacket type of a look with other, you know, things. Obviously not the skirt part of the dress I'm painting, but it's interesting just how that works with how the light hits things. I didn't really finish up right here, so I'm gonna just go over that right now, since I just kind of left it. Thanks, Mitch. Yeah, still just doing the kind of the base right now for everything with them. Yeah, there's been a little talk of his blue shoes already on here. Yeah, they're gonna get painted over. That's gonna be black. Clouds would be very hard to get around on. We're walking on a glacier. That might be kind of dangerous. Now there's an edge here. There's like looks like a transparent part going through sort of like the belly here. So this actually need a hard edge on this right here. And now I think also want to maybe darken right over here. Now that I have these different parts in there, I can kind of see what I need to do a little bit better. Right over here, probably get darker. Yeah, definitely. Actually, his hand is right over here. You can just barely see two of his fingers. I'm not sure if I want to put them in there or not, because it looks like you can kind of tell it's his hand, but it just looks maybe a little awkward. So, not really sure about what would look best right there or not. Again, this is going to look too dark. Get it the right value. Scrub shoes, I guess that's what you'd call them. Yeah, the blue hospital covers. Yeah, they're going away. He came to Alaska for the shoot straight from his job as a surgeon. Might be a surgeon, I don't know. But his shoes are not blue in the photo anyway. So now this is the kind of thing right here. If this is transparent, which it looks like, it doesn't really look like there's any like skin tone showing through right there. It kind of looks gray. So I guess I'll just go with that. I don't actually have any pictures of this dress from any other angles, so I can't really check. Sometimes that's handy to have, but I think I can pretty much see how it's supposed to be. What I have here. So Brian his parents had an artist paint his house in Malta before they left, and the guy hit a lizard somewhere in the picture. So he made it into a hidden pictures game. Is that like his trademark or something? I like to hide my signature when I'm all finished with the painting. Actually, I haven't really been hiding it as much recently, but I don't like it to stand out all that much because I feel like it just looks distracting. guess I'm at a point now where I'm changing my signature, which I haven't really completely decided how I'm doing that, but I'm not using the old version anymore. There actually may be a fox shape hidden in this painting right now. Of course, I didn't really hide it there, it just was kind of in the reference already. Can't see it now because it's zoomed in more, but that may or may not have happened in this painting at some point earlier on when I was working on something else. There's no lizards though. If there are, I didn't put them there. I'm gonna just darken this some more. Not really too many Aphex Twin lyrics to use for anything. You could probably... I think Richard's only ever had about like 30 words worth of lyrics in any of his songs that weren't from movie quotes or something. I think I might have some explaining to do if I, you know, put the words "I want your soul" in a painting somewhere and then I got a call from the client. They might not like that. That might send the wrong message. So for the hair, the bride was saying she wants it to, she wants it to show that it was really windy when they were having the picture taken, but she doesn't want it quite as wild as it looks in the photo. It was actually, there was more on the top, but actually cut out in Photoshop. It was flying up there. So it's going to look kind of like this, but a little bit more kind of like normal hair. Just missed this message from before. Like you mean it says this is a mermaid fit and flare gown. So yeah, it's one of those hybrids. Not like the cars. Guess I could put a little bit more on the strap up here. I've got so much crap in front of the screen right now. I can barely see the messages at all. The two different cameras going, stands and stuff. Yeah, Mitch, I always figure if I'm doing a painting for somebody, specifically, like what, based on what they want, just try to make it, you know, what they want. And I don't want them to get the painting and then be like, oh, why'd he do that? It kind of defeats the whole point. Now it's very light up on the top of the shoulder. That's well, there is some kind of lace up there. There's a little bit of detail. It's a little bit washed out right there, so I can't really tell exactly what's going on. I guess I'll give it a little gray and then paint white over it later and just kind of work it into everything else. So if I was putting nuclear bombs and dragons and stuff in the painting, I feel like probably would have a lot less risk of things going wrong. It would already be kind of nuts. I mean, putting all that stuff together might be kind of difficult to do in a way that looked good, but there might not really be any way to do it that look good, so whatever happens is just kind of par for the course. Definitely not loving how this looks right now, but it will get better later on. Almost looks like she has some kind of weird body armor on or something, like a metal armor piece. I'll give this a little more white right here. I've been doing some of these really precise edges here with this bigger brush, but maybe I'm pushing my luck a little bit. I'm gonna just leave some of this other stuff and go back later with the smaller brush. This definitely can get darker right here, though. Oop, not that dark. Bride's wearing a stab vest since she just came from her job as a correctional officer. Is that what it's called? Stab vest? Well, you know, if he's a doctor wearing the scrub shoes and they just both rushed over for the shoot, you know, I guess they could each have a little something from their job. I don't think I'm going to be hiding anything in the painting here, but I mean, I guess the bride could hide a knife inside of the painting and bring it to her work, and then, well, I guess she wouldn't want the criminals to get a hold of it, but that'd be a different way of hiding knives. Now right here, there's kind of a nice little area in the back where some light showing through. Like, making this edge a lot harder will really separate the dress from that. I think it looks kind of nice now, but I just push it a little bit more. And there's the same thing over here where it's a little bit darker right on the edge for the dress than the background. So I'm going to go over it just specifically because of that. A little bit subtler than the top part though. Yeah, really, Brian, a lot of the time I'm really not doing anything here. I'm just kind of pretending while I think about something else. And when nobody's looking, I just hurry up and paint something real quick before it's over. Especially with what I'm doing now, it's so subtle. These different little, light grays versus lighter grays. Sometimes it's going to be harder to see what I'm doing right away because it's just a little bit at a time. Okay, I'm going to lighten this right here a little bit. This is the part that I just kind of darkened, that in the reference, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on right there. It does look kind of like material right now. That's sort of going a certain way though, so kind of like that, but I feel like with the way the light is behind the dress, maybe it should be a little bit lighter right here. Guess that's all right. Just bring this one edge here into these little ripples a little bit more, even though it's not really doing that on the reference, but I think I need to integrate it a little bit somehow, a little bit better. I think that was too much, too dark now. Again, there's some places where the lace texture is kind of actually darker than what's beneath. Not too many like that, but Like right in this area there is. I have to make sure the part above the hand here and then below matches. Right now it's a little bit maybe lighter up here. I think I'll be all done with the stream pretty soon. Coming up on 2 hours. Okay, now there's the one area that's very dark right here. So, Ryan, people have things to do aside from watch me paint all day. Let me just go over this edge right here a little bit more. I think I might not do it quite as dark as the reference, I don't know. Brian, you can go ahead and paint your nuclear bombs dragon Waldo painting. You know how to paint stuff. You can just go ahead and do that on your own. Getting this little wrinkle here to match a little bit more again, now that I darkened that edge. That might be enough. Not sure if I want to go darker with this part actually now that I'm looking at the rest of it. I think I am going to bring it over a little more in the middle here. Went a little bit too dark here, so I'm going to bring it back the other way. Hey Mitch, don't ask about the purple dragon. That was the last dragon painting I will ever do, despite Brian's constant nagging. I don't think it's anything you want to see. So I'm going to get all this stuff here together. I don't really have enough room to really get any of the white paint over here as it is now. Okay, that's better. More where it should be. I think the value is looking good now overall. We just want to soften this edge right here a little bit. Oh, I don't know, maybe just slightly. You know, Mitch, I think you're right. You and Brian are like Statler and Waldorf. Yeah. I think from now on, whenever either one of you says anything, I'm going to just picture you as one of those guys hanging out of a balcony. I remember my parents used to watch The Muppet Show when I was little. There's a, maybe I need to soften this right here a little bit. It's a documentary about Jim Henson on Prime or someplace. Saw it recently, I didn't watch it, but looks good. I know you two are just can't help yourselves. Well, I think for Brian intentionally just wants to cause trouble. Anyway, so yeah, so it's really just you, Mitch, that can't help yourself. This part down here is a lot darker behind the dress, or yeah, I guess you'd say the dress right there. I think actually maybe I'm seeing part of his shoe right over here, just covered up by the dress. Yeah, did you ever see Mitch Legend? Not Legend. I don't know if he worked on that one actually, probably not. But Labyrinth. It was something I really liked when I was little. And I actually have a few songs from the soundtrack. Well, I have the whole soundtrack. The Bowie stuff on it was great. The rest was a disaster without the movie. But saw it when I was an adult, and it was not the same experience, unfortunately. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna put in something right over here aside from the color I'm using now. I'm gonna extend this right over here a little bit. Bring this part down. Yeah, I used to watch Fraggle Rock when I was little also. It was a cool show. I just heard a year or two ago, I guess they have a new one, so that's nice. those doozers always building stuff, and then the Fraggles come along and just eat it. I think we can all identify to that sort of thing happening at some point, somehow. And whenever the Fraggles did it, then the doozers would just go. Remember those one episodes where the Fraggles decided not to eat the doozers' buildings because they thought it was kind of mean? And then the doozers just didn't know what to do with themselves because they built so much that they were like running out of space to build stuff. Well, yeah, I think Labyrinth, I mean, it was a long time ago that I saw it when I was, growing up, but it was still kind of cool, but it just, when I was young, I thought it was like really cool. Just definitely felt a little bit, I don't want to say it felt like a kid's movie, but I think it was a kid's movie. I mean, big surprise, there's Muppets in it, but wasn't really expecting that when I watched it again the second time or whatever, the last time. I'm gonna make this a little bit thicker right here. Just a little bit. I want this edge to be harder anyway. Oh, I saw Batteries Not Included. Yeah, it was kind of a weird movie. I liked it at the time, though. I saw Cloak and Dagger, too. I don't really remember what that was about. Oh yeah, and The Last Starfighter really creeped me out when there's like the second version of the guy being made and it's like not fully formed yet and you sort of see it laying in the bunk bed. I think that really freaked me out when I was little. I like Flight of the Navigator too. I really wanted that little guy that he had for a pet. I wished I had one of those little guys. Just darken this edge here a little more too. I want to say Flight of the Navigator was a movie that had like almost no story, but I haven't seen it for a long time. It was just kind of like a cool... I don't, that's probably another one that if you watch it as an adult, probably not gonna have the same effect. I don't know if I would call it a classic, but, I liked it at the time. Okay, that's a little bit too much, actually. I think maybe that was better before. I'm gonna have to just... Please be kind, rewind. Bring this back the other way. Remember that, guys? You get a rental, it wasn't rewound. That happened when somebody wasn't kind. There just like a Parker was inflated the navigator? I don't remember that. I definitely didn't know who she was back then. I remember she was in something else from back around that time. I just found out about recently. Like, I don't remember what the movie was now. You know what's really nuts? Did you guys ever see The Explorers? With the kids that like make a spaceship to go to space? Like Ethan Hawke was in that. That was his first movie. And just kids being kids are just so stupid that they actually like bullied him after he was in the movie. Like about the coolest thing a kid could do. Like he was in a movie that got national release and so kids bullied him over it. Dumb. Not that I would expect bullies to actually have a good reason for much of anything. Oh, really? Explorers was supposed to be twice as long? I don't know what the kids would do. I feel like that's another story that, like, I don't really remember too much of it, but I feel like it was kind of put together and it was like, you know, probably there wasn't that much there to it. So I don't know what they would have done if there was twice as much movie. Maybe they would have, I don't know, got to the really good stuff. Not that I didn't like it. I liked the movie back then. Yeah, right. Schmuckleberry says they wanted to be in the movie. Well, probably. I mean, you know, the MO for bullies is usually just self-serving, whatever it is. There's one little edge right here, which is just very narrow. A little darker area. I just overdid it a little too much. Oh, well, as far as how long to finish the commission, I mean, it kind of takes as long as it takes. I mean, the bride had, you know, first contacted me a while ago, back when I was nowhere near a point where I could start it, so I let her know that from the beginning, so she was like, oh, that's okay. So, I mean, really any painting I do, like, regardless of when I want to finish it, it just happens when it happens. I mean, you know, I have to just work on it as much as I can to get it done. There's only so much I can do to actually make it get done faster. But basically it's just, you know, as many hours as I can put in, that is what gets it done. But it makes it much less complicated when I don't have like I don't know, one point a few years ago, I had like 6 or 7 paintings that were kind of in the works, like commissions. And a lot harder to predict when things will be done and started. You know, the next thing will be started with that kind of situation. So I'm not in that kind of a place right now. Although she was saying she was thinking she would want another one after this is done at some point. So that could be my next painting, I don't know. Assuming she likes it. Yeah, for the way I do it is like I'll ask for half of the pay before I work on the painting, and then the other half is due when it's finished. So in the past, I asked for the rest of the pay after I sent it to the client, but now I ask for it before I'm going to send it because I had 1 or 2 situations that came about after I delivered a painting, and then I was like, okay, here's the balance, and then I didn't get all of it. Let's just leave it at that. I always look at it from the point of view of the other person. Like it's a kind of a big leap of trust to ask for all that money without even, you know, not even having the painting. But at the same time, you know, there is a contract and everything, which is to protect both of us. So, you know, I guess either side is really kind of like they're putting money on the line, I'm putting all this time on the line as far as like getting the agreement, you know, what we agreed to. Well, in the one situation, it was a wedding painting and the person had actually forgotten that he didn't paint, like he still owed me half of the painting when it was done. And so then he's still paying me back. Let's just, you know, say that. To come over here to see those emotes. Yeah. Yeah, back when I used to do like, I was just doing wedding paintings and nothing else for the longest time. I mean, this is a painting of a couple that are getting married and everything, but I wasn't at the wedding for it. This was a shoot they did on the Glacier. So I had seen years ago that it's kind of shockingly common for people to hire. I mean, I don't want to say common, but it was common enough that it wasn't like, you know, a very rare thing where people would hire photographers to go shoot their wedding. And then the photographers did everything they were supposed to do with going through the photos and, you know, cleaning them up and whatever the package was. And then afterwards, the couple sometimes will just say, yeah, we're not paying you. We don't need prints or anything. And then like, I couldn't even believe that. I mean, that's just pretty beat. So in this, it was like a message board I was reading, people were saying ever since that happened, now we charge full, you know, cost beforehand because they got tired of getting screwed. So it's a little bit like the same kind of thing with me of like charging before sending the painting. It's just kind of a way of protecting yourself. Thinking this is a little too dark now. I'm gonna just keep on lightening it a little bit. This part over here, unlike some of the other areas, is not Well, actually, it is getting some lace, but it's not really showing up as a very different value right there. So I don't really need this to look extra dark compared to how it is in the reference. Okay, well, I think that's gonna just about do it for today. So, I've pretty much got this like base layer here for, you know, from this part of the dress up, and once that dries, I'll go in, do a lot of little, extremely detailed and repetitive shapes for the lace next time. And I guess before I'm all finished, I'll just show you up close. Here is actually here's what this looks like closer. Not that there's all that many details to look at, but you know, gonna be lots of little stuff going in all these different areas around here. And here's where the faces are right now. She doesn't really have her face done, but anyway. Okay, so thanks for watching. And thanks, Brian. Thanks for the encouragement. So see you next time. And you want to stop by? I think I will probably be doing Thursday again next week. Till I want to try another day. But for now, let's figure Thursday, 6:30. Well, oh, actually, the next week is actually Thanksgiving. Well, I don't know how many people are going to be watching painting on Thanksgiving, so I actually might want to do a different day then. I don't know. I'll have to decide about that. So if you want to watch whatever day that's going to be, I guess you want to watch my Facebook, or you know, send me a message, or if you want to be on my email list for when I go live each week, you could do that too. So whenever I'll be doing it again next time, see you then.